Good morning. Happy Easter. This is pretty awesome, I'm not going to lie. I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, it took us 20 minutes to get in the parking lot. I live here, so it was a pretty short walk. I walked over. It took me 90 seconds. It wasn't bad at all. But it is certainly wonderful to be here on this April 17th, 2022, for almost the 2000th time. We, as the body of Christ and the church, celebrate the fact that Christ is risen, for he is risen indeed. In fact, this is really the only question that matters. He either rose or he didn't. He either rose or he didn't. And if he didn't, you all sat in that line out there for no reason at all. You should be home asleep, or at least that's what I would be doing. If you're one of those weird people who like to wake up in the morning, you could be like having a coffee or reading a book or looking at the birds or flipping through TikTok, whatever you would be doing. You wasted your time if he didn't rise from the dead. But if he did, and thank God, we believe he did, then that changes everything. Because brothers and sisters, the great reality that none of us want to face is the fact that one day this life, as we know it, will be no more. And that is terrifying. That is paralyzing. But the Lord of all showed us that he himself even has power over death. And that is our great hope. But if he rose, then we have to ask ourselves some serious questions. We can allow ourselves to be distracted by anything and everything, but there's certain things that pivot if he in fact rose. And we've gone through these last 40 days of Lent, hearkening back to the example that the Lord gave us of spending those 40 days in the desert, hearkening back to the Egyptians who spent the 40 years in the desert. And both of those give us an example of putting away the things that are not of God and to clinging to Christ. You know, hopefully this Lent has been a good one for you and you've successfully given up chocolate or TV or whatever it was. But the question is, like, what do we do now? Was that just 40 days of not partaking in something that we liked, or maybe trying to remove something that we're trying to work on? Is tomorrow the same as 41 days ago? That's the question. Because this whole journey that the church gives us to remind ourselves of these great truths, these great facts, was just that. We have to ask ourselves, well, what are we doing here? What we realized in these last 72 hours, this most grand of journeys that we went on, Christ showed us that you can die, but you can come out even greater. The resurrected Christ. And for us, brothers and sisters, we look upon the cross like the Egyptians looked on the serpent, on the staff, and said, Lord, heal us. I believe that I'm called to live a better life. I'm called to get more out of life. But if we do that, we've got to let those old parts of us pass away and to allow the Lord to call us to something better. We can't just be caught in this loop of constantly going to the same things over and over again. That's so boring. This life is an adventure. We're called to be a part of a great adventure. And with that comes a continual search for God, a continual putting away of your old self. As a young priest, I've had a tremendous opportunity of being here, for 3 years, and then for 2 years before that as a deacon and a seminarian. Thank the Lord for all of your sake that I am not the person I was 3 years ago. COVID made sure that there was a lot of maturing that took place. But then even 2 years before that, I'm not the same person. My favorite place to be in a social situation is where I know absolutely no one at all. Absolutely no one. You know, because I grew up in Rockford. When I go back, I see buddies from high school. You know, they see John, who they went to high school with, you know, every little day a little bit longer ago, almost 15 years ago now, right? They don't see me as a priest. Later, when I go to Easter dinner with my family, you know, I'm still the same kid who was making mistakes all over the place. I still make mistakes all over the place, but back in grade school and growing up, they're like, you're not that special. I changed your diaper. It's not that big of a deal. But by allowing myself each and every year to die a little bit and put on Christ, I am not the same person I was a year ago. So my question is to you, are you the same person you were 40 days ago? Because if you're open, the Lord is calling you to something more. He's calling you to put away the things that are not of God and to put on Christ. And with that, brothers and sisters, he's inviting you to get more and more out of life. Because again, there's only one thing that matters. Either he rose or he didn't. And he did rise. And one day, he's going to call us home. And we've only got a short amount of time to allow ourselves to get the most out of life. It's an adventure. And the question is, do you feel you're on it? Or are you just a bystander kind of watching life go by? So brothers and sisters, we have the greatest hope of the history of the world. Christ is risen. Are you living that as a reality every day of your life?